D.C. Bureau's year-long investigation of the bomb plant will expose how America's most radioactive Superfund site is being touted by the Obama administration as a pathway to a green energy future. In a chilling series of reports starting this fall, the Public Education Center's award-winning investigative reporters will peel away the facade on the Savannah River Site to reveal how the Obama administration is investing nearly $100 billion in borrowed money to rebuild a nuclear weapons complex the Pentagon says we no longer need. You will meet the Lindsay family, whose father was recruited from his job as a segregated black school principal to commute several hours from Greenwood, South Carolina, for a chance to help his country and receive a reliable paycheck to raise his 10 children.
My father had been sick for many, many years, working sick.
The doctor in 61, his doctor that was seen, he had enough with the playing back and forth, and he told them, you can see the medical report, now something is going on here with this rash, and you're not going to tell me that he just hurt his knee or fell, something like that, you know, and when there was no accident reported like that. And so he knew, and he was asking about, he was talking about the other guy, Bobby.
Yeah.
He was locked in the situation.
Yeah.
As months turned into years, Mr. Lindsay got sicker and sicker. He brought the radiation home on his clothing. His children would be exposed playing with their dad or sitting on his lap. His wife would be exposed washing the clothes. While the white employees had a nuclear laundry for their work clothes, the African Americans were not so lucky.
We were very close to our father, particularly the older ones, spending a lot of time with him and being around him, washing his clothes, this kind of thing, because, I mean, that's what you did. And there were 10 children. My mother couldn't do it all. So all of us participated and had our responsibilities.
Ironically, the Lindsays thought they were lucky because the SRS management encouraged African American employees at the site to hunt and fish at SRS and pick from the old orchards that remained from the 5 towns that were lost to the bomb plant when it took over the land. The radioactive fruit, vegetables, fish, and game were shared with friends and relatives, spreading radiation throughout the African American community.
Don't take in consideration the ingestion of, see, they took up all those acres of land. Mm-hmm. And those land, they had farms, they had food out there and hunting. And those people used to go out there and hunt and get deer and stuff like that. They would hunt off these places where they buried and drank the stream from. They'd get food. My father would bring it home all the time. Mm-hmm. They would sell it by the roadside. They would let the people go out there and hunt and get those things.
Finally, one awful day, Mr. Lindsay was driven home to die. The radiation he brought home would reach from his grave to take his wife first, then 3 children over the decades.
Our mother would drive to the hospital, and we would be left in the car because we couldn't go in. We were very young, and she would open his curtains so we could see him in his room
and wave.
And wave, yeah. But I just like to think that people won't lose sight of the human element, and this can be a story that people can understand.
You'll meet the first African American college graduates to work at the bomb plant and learn how Willer Hightower and his wife turned down jobs at prestigious Bell Labs to work in the lab at SRS, and how they spent a career not getting promotions and not even being told what was happening to their fellow African Americans on the site.
I was rather naive, I think, to come back to the site. Had no idea where I might go. I mean, I knew I was going to be in the lab, but that didn't mean anything to me. Right. You know, if I go into one of the reactor areas, it'd been a different game. So I just lucked out in being in an area that was as friendly an area as could be at the site at that time. A lot of them got exposed, and some of them got exposed and exceeded the limit, and they kept them in the job, didn't tell them. If you don't have a high regard for a certain kind of people, then you're apt to put them into situations that's not good for their life. And those who are not African Americans perhaps will be more in the know. So they don't want the jobs. So physically, none of the jobs are tough. But if you don't know the exposure is a long-term thing, I mean, all you know is to make good money.
Our investigation will look into the good old boy network that ran SRS and made sure promotions were not given on merit, especially to black employees. And if you thought Jim Crow was dead at SRS in 2010, you can meet a young woman from California who went to work at the pride of the National Nuclear Security Administration's new $5 billion MOX plant. Despite her great computer skills, she could not even get an interview when a better job opened up, and it was given to a far less qualified white worker.
I patiently waited, and I made an appointment. No, I went to the human resource, Mr. Bethman, and I said, hey, something unfair is going on here. Because I had spoken to a couple of the IT guys, and one of the guys, I asked him, I said, hey, what school did you go to? He said, I didn't go to school. So after talking to a couple of guys, and I started realizing that they didn't have an education, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute here. Something's going on.
Her reward for filing a complaint about losing that job opportunity was that she was fired and escorted out in front of all her coworkers by Wackenhut security.
Up until that point, I kind of prepared myself for this because I knew, and my boss was telling me, and all the things they were doing. So when we moved to this new building, I took all my personal effects except for a couple of pictures of my baby. So that's the only thing I had in my cube is these couple of pictures.
Right.
And in my opinion, I think they thought they were going to embarrass me by having the police stand outside my cube and, all these boxes standing over me. So when I walked out of my boss's office, I grabbed my baby's picture, and by the time he came out, I was ready to go. He said, oh, you're done? I said, yeah, I'm ready. And, he walked me out, and when we got in the elevator, my boss was like, Christy, I'm really sorry this happened to you. He was visibly upset. He said, but you knew it was going to happen when you started messing with them.